Hello and welcome back to the Franchise Growth Pod. My name is Belle, lead on all things marketing at AC Inc. And I am here today with one of our incredible franchise growth advisors, Brecon. How's it going?
Great, Bill. Thanks so much for having me back.
Woo! Okay, I am really excited about today's topic. It's going to be kind of an interesting one. We're talking a bit about franchisee accountability and how we create it, what types of formats kind of work best to cultivate it. We're going to talk about accountability in general, why it's so important in a system where we're kind of all working on the same business and yet all accountable to our own businesses, which is, again, is just such a unique way to grow a business and to share a brand with the world and be a local business owner. So we're going to talk about some complexities there. And then, of course, talk a lot about as a field coach or as someone who's coaching franchisees in different formats, how we can help nurture that and create more accountability for all kinds of things. So it's going to be a good chat. I'm excited, Brecon. Are you excited?
Always.
Always. Perfect. I was like, I had been talking for a little too long. Brecon, you good too? Okay, but before we get into the topic today, as if you've been listening recently, you probably are aware we have a kind of kickoff question we like to start with. This is just a way for everyone to get to know all of our team members and clients, community members, everyone who comes on the podcast a little bit better. And I love a random question. So Brecon doesn't know what these questions are. So I'm gonna ask you, Brecon, what is your least favorite chore around the house? And I know like you and Jen are amazing, have wonderful kids, great family dynamic. I love, and you're so all about your family and I love it. But I know like everyone has a least favorite chore, something that is always going to cause an issue. I'm really curious what yours is.
Uh, well, actually, I probably do most of the chores in my
Oh,
house.
really? Oh, interesting. You're like, are you big in like onto cleaning and stuff? Like, are you definitely the cleaner? Yeah, I'm the
I'm
cleaner.
definitely the cleaner. I do the cleaning and the cooking. Uh,
Wow. Okay.
I'm very domesticated.
Nice.
Um, I would say my least favorite chore, honestly, is vacuuming.
Oh my gosh, what? That's such a random one to not like. Why do you not like it?
I don't know. I think it's because I did it so much as a kid.
Oh, did you have like a chore that was yours as a kid?
Well, yeah, but we would always have different, but we, as kids, we were at an early age, we were helping out. That was just
Yeah.
how it was. Um, but I always seemed to get vacuuming and drove me nuts. And then you always got to change the heads and the nozzles and there's different parts for different parts of the house. And oh, yeah, I
That
don't
is
know why it bothers me so much, but I do not enjoy vacuuming.
that is such a weird one. I was fully not expecting that. I feel
What's yours?
like I'm kind of a tie. I don't want to do anything to do with our car. I don't even like getting gas. Like I just anything, and I can, like I've changed my oil. I just, like I've changed a tire. Like I'm not bad or anything, but I just don't like it. I don't like, oh my gosh, worst is like filling up tires with air. Oh, I find it so annoying. Like just
We're allowed to do outside chores already. I'm changing mine to weeding because I hate weeding.
Oh, weeding is also awful. Yes. When I was younger, that was a big part of what I would do in the summers when I was like a young teenager is I would go work at places and do a bunch of weeding and like landscape, like just the easy landscape stuff. Back-breaking work. Like it is so hard. Respect to
Being
anyone who
six
does
foot two
landscape
and doing
stuff.
weeding too, it's no fun.
Yes, I'm a lot closer to the ground than you, so that must have been even harder. That's a really good one. But yeah, I would say my tie, like if we have to do indoor and outdoor is like anything to do with car or like oil changes and those kinds of things. I find that super annoying. And then also mine is cleaning the bathroom. Really don't specifically like scrubbing like a bathtub. I really find that super annoying.
No,
And
I
luckily
don't mind it.
Josh doesn't mind that. So he does
Me
that.
neither.
So that's
There
good.
you go.
I know it's funny how people have things that are like, this is so annoying. Like I remember growing up, my dad hated doing dishes. And to me, like I would do so many dishes when I was younger.
I'm actually I do the dishes all the time, just not much.
Yeah, dishes is like not a huge deal for me.
It's
Obviously like
kind of
gross dishes
therapeutic.
are not fun, but yeah, I also find that. I mean, we have a dishwasher now and I never had one growing up, so it's been a big game changer. But yeah, in general, I just find it so funny how some people have some that they just like don't want to do ever, and other people are like, "What? That's so fine. Like that's not hard at all." So,
I
anyways, yeah, we learned something new about each other and learned that we're both the cleaners and cookers in our household. So that's fun. Um, okay, so we're gonna dive into nothing to do with chores at all, actually. Um, no
It's a
segue.
bit of a chore sometimes.
maybe the accountability can feel a little bit chore-like every once in a
Yes.
while. We're going to talk about franchisee accountability, and I wanted to start off with a super easy question. A lot of people are already pretty aware, but just start us off with kind of why specifically for franchisees is accountability such a key part of coaching and success and getting better as an owner when you have all of these other owners also running the same business, and it's a system, so you're following the system. Like, why specifically is accountability such a key thing we focus on for franchisees?
Well, we do focus on it. It's amazing. Like we have franchisees who are so willing to take ownership of their business,
Yeah,
right? And so they're accountable for all aspects of it. They understand that the buck stops with them, and
yeah,
so they're willing to put in effort in all areas, and they want to get better. And you can have full discussions with them about, okay, what are the areas you're struggling with,
mhm,
and they're open to it, and they're not just like, oh, I'm great at everything.
yeah,
So
yeah,
like a kind of a, I would say accountability includes things like taking ownership of all of it, being
mm,
responsible, but also being that humble piece and the
yeah,
openness and willingness to change. Accountability helps with all those things.
yeah.
And when you have a franchisee who's willing to do that, essentially what we find is they're willing to improve their business and take the steps to do it.
So not a
And
huge issue if people have that kind of ownership and accountability already.
but
Um,
those who don't, it is really hard to help them improve.
mm,
And so I think also for a lot of folks, they don't want to be held accountable by their franchisor. Like
oh,
that
interesting.
that relationship is almost like a parents and teenager at some points. And
Mhm,
so they get the eye rolling and like, oh, they don't understand and all that stuff.
yeah.
And so maybe nobody is holding their franchisees accountable in a lot of systems, and that is a problem.
Mm. Yeah, and I think especially as we said, like franchisees being it's such a cool like I love franchising and I know you do too.
Yes,
And everyone
it
on the
is.
team is a bit nerdy about it. But what I specifically love is that it's small business owners, like it's people in their own local communities owning businesses, but then they get to not have to have this kind of entrepreneurial, create a whole entire pricing system and operating system and all like menu design and all these things, right? Like you don't have to always have that kind of creative operations risk focused brain that a lot of like entrepreneurs do who start brand new things from scratch. You still get to be this local business owner and take ownership and build something for your kids and your family and be in your community, like all these awesome things. And so I love that, but you're so right, it also comes with that ownership and accountability because it's a unique scenario where franchisors have built this brand and the operation system and the manual on how to do it and all of this. So then that accountability to be following a lot of those systems and then be wanting to grow and improve and make your system better and all those types of things, that plays a bigger part than if you're kind of doing your own thing, starting a tech company or something like that. It's just a very different dynamic.
Well, and then you're also accountable to your peers, right? Your fellow
Yeah,
franchisees and the brand.
yeah,
And it's awesome when you have a whole bunch of franchisees who view themselves as accountable to each other.
yeah,
There's a perfect segue for you. But it does, yeah, it success breeds more success.
yeah,
And
yeah.
accountability breeds more accountability. It's amazing.
Yeah, and as you mentioned, great segue. Because really, what we wanted to talk about when we were talking about accountability today is, we can talk a little bit about, having roadmaps are really great for accountability, right? Having kind of a spreadsheet or a document where you can go to and look at your action step. Those are kind of typical. Like we see a lot of, people talk about how that's a really good option, and they totally are. But I
Yes.
wanted to take a bit of a different approach on this episode because I feel like that's covered quite often. Having a list of steps, having a system in place, knowing who they can talk to if they have a question, all of that is great for accountability, but I do find it's like the more common kind of tips you hear when you're thinking about it. But I want to talk about the group element. I want to talk about the peer element. And this is a little bit different because with field coaches and systems, there's a lot of one-on-one often, is especially as you're kind of a mid-range system. There's a lot of that one-on-one coaching, which is so awesome and so key. But then also this thing, and we've been doing actually a lot of this fractionally for systems, which is awesome. And we've seen a lot of success with it. And that's why I want to talk about it a bit, is this peer coaching, like group coaching element where franchisees get to be not only accountable to each other in meeting regularly and seeing what their peers are doing, but also accountable to the learning and training that you're all going through at the same time and kind of get it. And you know that you're getting the same information, the same homework, all that kind of stuff as your peers. So maybe give like a brief a brief description of kind of what this like group coaching for franchisees kind of looks like, just so people can have a frame of mind for when we're talking about how that like helps with that accountability piece a lot.
Sure. Well, and there's different formats for sure. We run a couple of different kinds. One is performance groups and mastermind groups. They're
Mhm.
very similar,
Yeah.
slightly different, but essentially what it is there's always topic or a concept that is being reviewed, and it can be anything from KPIs to leadership style to sales closing techniques today, or what have you, or lead gen, whatever.
Yeah.
There's a topic, but everyone is expected to contribute first and foremost. Everyone has to participate. And so if there were things that they had to do beforehand to prepare, which it helps them learn, of course, and all the learning helps them increase their business or improve their business. So they have to prepare, then they have to chime in, they have to be present and listening. And and then as always, there are always assignments afterwards that you have to, like in my group for the first 3 sessions, you are presenting your
Mhm.
work to the
Yeah.
rest of your peers, because they're, whether it's a SWOT analysis or
Mhm.
an issues list or anything like that.
Yeah.
And it's all, again, it's different if mom or dad tell you to create a SWOT for your company. But if
Mhm.
your peers are expecting to see your SWOT next week, immediately the only no one wants to be the guy who shows up to their peers and not have it
Yeah.
ready. They feel bad. There's a pride factor, and so there's that piece. But then there's also the fact that their peers can ask questions that I can't.
Mm. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Right? I'm the coach. Operationally, these guys run circles around me. They know their business much better than I ever will.
Yeah.
They can ask questions and help each other improve so much more,
Mhm.
and hold each other accountable. Hey, why aren't you trying this? This is what they teach you in head office. And I don't know that. And the
Yeah.
next thing you know, they're holding each other accountable, and Bob's your uncle, and everyone is improving their business dramatically.
Yeah, and I guess also that camaraderie that can kind of be built, like, as you kind of were talking about, there's definitely probably a competitive edge, just personality based. I'm sure some people get
Just a
get a little
smidge.
yeah, get a little bit like, "Oh, mine to be really good," or whatever. I'm sure that's but it also I think even if you don't have a naturally crazy competitive personality, it
It
also has
becomes very
that
collaborative.
yeah, very collaborative thing where you're also saying like, "Well, I'm presenting this, I want it to be good, but I'm also really wanting to, like, see what everyone else is doing so that I can make mine better." And so that type of thing also helps in the holding accountable because if you haven't done yours, you can't make yours better by, like, gaining questions or having people suggest things. You can't do that because it's not done, and then everyone else's is done, and you're missing out on that. So, I think there's so many levels, and I think it works for several different personality types depending on, as you said, like, some people get competitive. I definitely get competitive. But then
No.
Reckons, in disbelief. But there's also that collaborative side, and then there's on the other side, there's also the like selfishly, you want to get the feedback and get the thoughts and the perspective from your peer and really make sure yours is really good. And so it works on several levels, even if your attitude isn't the exact same as someone else's.
Well, and even like we'll often start sessions with who's got a challenge that they need help with today.
Yeah.
Right. And so someone will bring up, hey, I'm struggling with a client or an employee. Here's the situation. And now everyone is helping out solve that issue together. Everyone is accountable to help that franchisee get better.
Mm,
Um, and invariably, the people who are asking the questions or giving the feedback are learning as well.
yeah.
Or even if you're just listening. And maybe this week, it was Jimmy who brought up an issue, and next week I'm going to ask Susan or Sally to bring an issue, and they'll bring an issue, and so they're accountable for that as well. But people start being more open, they're more
Yeah.
vulnerable, um, and this sense of team, that this is a safe place where we can improve and help each other grow.
Mhm.
It is true. It Again, I was a performance group member as a franchisee. I now facilitate a lot of performance groups and masterminds. It, it is something that I believe wholeheartedly in. It held me accountable all the
Mhm.
time, and it helped me dramatically improve my businesses.
Yeah. So and that's awesome as like your perspective and as someone who's actually been in them and now leads them and understands the value on both sides, I think is so, so key. So we've talked about the value of them and kind of how they work. You talked about some kind of real life examples of how they actually work within, a context. Like, if someone brings a challenge, you're getting value here. If someone brings a tent, like their homework and they want to show it, now you're getting feedback there. So we've talked a lot about like the value that can come from this group coaching. So That's awesome. And we've talked a little bit about how it can work and how it can look a little bit different depending on the way your system's set up or the way you want to set up your coaching. But I'm curious, the group coaching, and we do get lots of questions about this, especially for brands who are kind of in that like 30 to 60 units, like where a lot of people are looking for the best ways. Maybe they have some kind of existing field coaching or support for their Z's that's more proactive, but they're looking to optimize or put in place some better frameworks and stuff like that. But we do get asked, like, is it better to do the group, or is it better to have one-on-one coaching? Is it better when there's both? How do you know if someone's going to, really thrive in a one-on-one coaching setting versus are they an awesome, person to be in a group where they're holding each other accountable and showing up and being a part of the group, assignments and those kinds of things. Like, is there anything you can kind of give as an insight if someone is listening and they're in that range and they're wanting to make sure their support and coaching works well, and you're hearing this group coaching something, you're like, ooh, this sounds really good. Does it work for everyone? Does it work for certain, Z's? Does And we talk a little bit about, like I know that we try to get people who are really excited about coaching to become the first ones in a system to get into that group coaching, because it helps that people are genuinely buying in and excited to be involved and want to be there. um, but yeah, maybe just provide a little bit of insight, because I know when if people are hearing all these awesome things, they're going to be going, but is this going to work always, or is it certain people? Just maybe some insights on that.
Well, I there's no silver bullet. It's not a perfect coaching system. I will say for franchisees who the, you get out of it what you put into it.
Mm,
So franchisees who want to learn and are open and do the assignments and come prepared and are participate a great deal
yeah,
do tremendously well. I mean, the numbers we see from those franchisees on their improved revenue and net profits and
yeah,
increased EBITDA, it
it's
is legitimately
yeah,
staggering.
mhm,
Um, but those who only show up or aren't willing to show up, and often it is a mindset issue,
mhm,
they don't understand how it can be impactful, or maybe they were told to be here and they didn't have to apply
yeah.
those kinds of scenarios. Someone who shows up once every three
Episodes.
sessions is not going to do great.
Yeah, yeah.
They may improve, but simply from a effective use of resources piece, if you have one facilitator working with six franchisees, of whom five are going to get tremendous results out of it, versus having to do six different meetings one-on-one,
Yeah.
uh, yeah, I would say the best bang for the buck is traditionally in performance groups. We are seeing uh, amazing results. And even when it ends, they now have a sense of a team that they can go work with moving forward,
And
right?
you
They're not alone. They feel that these other
yeah.
five people, I can call them any day of the week. I am still in touch with my performance group members from my first performance group when I was a franchisee. And that's like going on 12 years ago. We're still friends.
Gosh, that's actually really cool. I
Yeah.
think you had mentioned that actually when we were building out these group coaching programs, like a long time ago now. But I remember you saying that, and you're like, "This is so key," because I literally still talk to the people who were in my original one. That's so awesome.
And those
Um,
guys shredded my business. It was awesome. It was so good. It was amazing. Tore it apart every time.
That's so great. And I was also going to say too, we have seen a few people who have said they like get together with their performance group when they go to their company conference. And it's
Yes.
always like so fun to like get to see the people that they've been on these calls with and helping each other grow the business. And they know so much about the ins and outs. And so that's always really special too, when those connections can kind of go into the real world and then also make you so much more comfortable in my mind, if I know some of these franchisees in my system, I love them so much and I have so much in common and we've really helped each other, your attitude about all the owners in your system suddenly just can shift where you're like, oh my gosh, there's so many people now that I could, like, when you go to these company events and stuff, it opens your brain as to, how much connection can be made within your system and how much you can help each other, which I think is really special as well.
And if you have multiple performance groups, it's amazing the brainstorming that happens in those. And then, like as a facilitator, I'll hear something in one group. I'm like, oh my gosh, that was an amazing idea. I'm going to bring that to the next performance group,
Yeah, 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 yeah.
right? So it's all transferable as well.
Mm,
And to your point, like we used to go to conferences and we'd see the other performance groups. I'd be like, hey, what are you guys doing about this? Like it
yeah,
was
yeah.
a natural thing for us to go and talk about and
Mhm.
help us all improve. And again, the accountability was through the roof. Like
Yeah.
no one ever showed up without getting their stuff done.
That's so great, and I think that was a good answer too, because I know that we have had people kind of ask, like, well, can we just set up a bunch of group coaching and have that be, is that the silver bullet, as you said? Like, is that the one way that it's all going to work? And I think you phrased it really well. And this is definitely the approach we take when we do it fractionally. So if you're going to set it up on your own, this is what we would also suggest. Or if you want to, again, leverage the AC team for this, that's also a great option. But we definitely take the approach of, as you said, like the getting people who are really excited and bought in, getting them into the group element is going to help so much in seeing results and helping. And as you said, like if there's a group and only 3 of the 6 people show up regularly because some people weren't bought in and excited and see the value, it's not going to be as valuable for everybody. So making sure that the group coaching is really focused more on people who are excited initially. And then as of course performance groups get, and group coaching in general just gets more traction in your system, you're going to get more people who are excited to show up, excited to see those results, excited to, do what their fellow owners are doing. So I think that's a really good starting place. And we have a couple posts on LinkedIn and stuff that talk about that as well if you want more information. But yeah, I think that's definitely a really, really good starting point when we're talking about like where the most value comes in and the most accountability comes in with franchisees in the group coaching space. And then still seeing a ton of value in that one-on-one coaching,
Oh,
especially
absolutely. And we
doesn't.
do both, obviously.
Yes. Yeah, yeah, totally. But especially when someone doesn't always see the value right off the bat and a lot of mindset work has to be done, that one-on-one can really help and then might even, get them excited to be a part of that group next time it happens or whatever.
And it doesn't matter if they're new, if they've been doing it forever, group coaching, in my experience, does create more accountability. I mean, we've got one group where I'm working with all high performers who now they're accountable to each other. And oh my gosh,
It's crazy, I bet.
it's fantastic.
That's awesome. Well, thank you, Brecon. I think this is definitely good. I wanted to give a bit of a like a foundational understanding of kind of where this accountability comes in and kind of how we can create it. Because again, I hear a lot of people say, the checklist, the having a resource wherever, and all of that's so valuable and so key. But I think just
It is.
talking more about that peer side and how that can kind of manifest in different personalities. And so I think that was really important for us to do this episode on. So thank you so much for sharing your insights. That was awesome. Anything else before we finish up?
I'm good, Val. Thanks so much for having me.
Yay. Okay, well, hope everyone who is listening has an amazing rest of your week and go be awesome.